Weekly mining news. Welcome to Australian Mining for New Starters, and today we're going to do the news, talk about the prices, and as always at the end we'll talk about where the new starter jobs are. So to start with, I just wanted to talk about this one with Warren Buffett. His big hedge fund has bought into Barrick in a big way. He spent $500 million buying Barrick gold. Now, the reason that he's done that, there's many varying reasons. People say that he's dumped his airline stock and his bank stock, and he's moved in Japanese stocks, and he's also bought Barrick and trying to get out of the US dollar. But for my money, it's more about the fact that Barrick, it doesn't have a lot of debt, it produces a lot of money, and that's what he's after, the cash flow that the big gold mine is going to produce. And that's the same thing that's happening here in Australia. So that leads into our next story, which is about of the Hill gold mine being recommissioned. So this is an old gold mine that's been off and on for a long time, and it's produced a lot of ounces in the past, and it looks like it's going to produce a lot more ounces in the future. So the interesting thing about this story is the construction jobs that are involved. And this gives us a pretty good indication of what construction for mining is going to look like moving forward. It's 450 people, and the construction, they're going to build a mill. It's $160 million. They expect to pay it back in 25 months with the gold price at $2,500 an ounce. So it's quite a good return on equity to get their new mill built. But it's only going to be 450 people, and it's only going to be for 12 months. There's no big projects like the oil and gas projects that went for 10 years and employed 15,000 people. Those projects just don't exist. And you're not going to get the amount of people and that demand that we had between 2006 and 2018 ever again. Because to give you an example, with these sort of projects at this rate, you'd have to put 100 of these things together a year, and you'd have to do that for 10 years in a row. So you're talking about 1,000 projects of 160 million just to sort of come up to that demand that they were having to pay people $180,000 a year to be stop-go people. The money's not going to be in the construction area of the industry anymore. Where it's moving into and the long-term jobs are is the actual mining jobs. And as you can see, they'll want 300 people to man the mine when it starts running, and that will be long-term. At the start of it goes up to 2038. So you're well and truly looking at a long-term mine life there. And that's what's probably not being put over by the media at the moment. The media is still trying to concentrate on iron ore, coal and construction, when they really should be trying to concentrate on gold, nickel and copper, because that's where all the activity is, because that's where the growth in the price is. The last thing that I wanted to talk about in the news is tickets and the way they affect everybody. So if you have a look at the sponsors training page, they've got a page that's got resumes on it, and this one is fairly typical resume if you want to get into oil and gas, shutdown or construction work, or coal in Queensland. And the reason that I've mentioned those ones specifically is because those are the areas of the industry that use the R2 competencies. And it's important that people understand that not all the industry uses R2 competencies. The areas of the industry that do use them are coal in Queensland, oil and gas, construction and shutdown. The areas that don't use them are hard rock mines that are all based through their state inspectorate. They use on-site ticketing. So the difference between a oil and gas or a shutdown resume that looks like this, that's going to get you a job, that's not going to get you a job if you try and send that into a hard rock underground or a hard rock surface job. So this is more what you're looking at if you want to send it into a hard rock underground job. It's got the sponsors training on it, of course, and that just lets the foreman know that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into it. They have retained a couple of the tickets that are applicable to underground, but even though they know they're not going to use it, that's there so the foreman can clock it and go, okay, the person's actually sat in an articulated haul truck before, so at least they've had a play on one. But the rest of it is just where you've worked, what you did, and if you used a bit of machinery, how long you used that machinery for. They can't import tickets onto their site, so they're not interested in it. And for some reason, that message just seems to be getting lost with the general public. And people continue to spend large amounts of money on R2 tickets that just aren't going to help them get jobs. And that's an unfortunate thing. So I hope that clears that up. And with tickets, with hard rock mining, especially underground, it's all non-transferable, so you have to redo everything every time you move to a new site, even if you go with the same company. And with oil and gas, or shutdown work, or construction work, this is what they're looking for. So it's two completely different things, and I hope people can understand how if you send a resume like this in to a hard rock underground job, it's just going to get culled in the first round. So next, let's have a look at the gold price, and that's hovering around 2,688, so around that 2,600 mark that it's been for the last few weeks. And if you remember back, the King of the Hill project was banking on 2,500 an ounce to pay it off in 26 months. That was 165 million, so they'll be well and truly on track at that rate. Iron ore is staying where it is at the moment. Again, as we've talked about, that's got more to do with Brazil not being open, and they've already started talking about Brazil opening up, so it's taken a little bit of a hit here, and it's starting on its wayward journey down back to about 80. As always, coal is down around the 50 mark. Hopefully that'll shake itself through in the next few months, and we can get some upward movement in the coal price as they've decommissioned some mines and they have some more demand growing. Now we'll move on to where the new starter jobs are. And if you type underground into Seek, I've only done it for 7 days, but you'll see all the jobs come up. The Agi batch operated jobs in Queensland, they're all entry level. Most of the truck driving jobs are entry level because they just can't find anybody with the experience. The same with Nipper and Offsider on a diamond drill rig underground. Now, if you want to have a crack at getting underground, then the best thing that I can recommend you doing is coming over and having a look at the sponsors training, Intro to Underground Mining DIY. It teaches you, it's 4 online courses, takes about 50 hours to do. In the back of the Australian Mining Seminar, teaches you everything you have to do with your resume and interview prep questions. It's $450. It'll let you know whether you really want to go mining or not. And if you do it and you want to go mining, then you've got all the tools to do it. But if you do it and you work out that mining's not for you, then it's not cost you that much money. So if you don't want to go underground and you want to have a crack at the surface, then exploration is probably the best place to have a look, as unfortunately there's a lot of experienced surface truck drivers going around at the moment. So I've noticed that the entry-level jobs for surface have pretty much dried up in the dump truck field, but with exploration they're still looking for field assistants everywhere. And if you want to have a crack, off-siting jobs as well. And as I've already talked about, if you like camping, then the driller's off-sider job on the surface can be a good way of going. But if you want to live in a camp, diamond drilling underground is probably the way to go. So I hope you found that helpful. And check out the sponsors training if you want to have a go at getting to hard rock underground. If you've got any more questions or you'd like anything answered, please send them through. And if you can share this information around and like and subscribe the channel. Thanks.